Hey everybody, today we're talking about GitHub Codespace. This is a product that GitHub offers. It's basically a development environment you can set up and access a virtual machine. Obviously, GitHub is owned by Microsoft, so their development environment of choice, and mine as well, is VS Code. So here's the main page for GitHub Codespaces. You can see there's a couple different templates. You can start with a blank one. If you're a JavaScript developer, you can start with a React template. I normally will start with something like a Jupyter Notebook because I do mostly data science, Python things. So I'll show you how I use this. I don't actually create a template from scratch. So I'll show you. Let me go to one of my repositories here. This is one I've been working on for a while. I made a video about it yesterday. It's natural language processing analysis of NFL prospect reports by scouts. So check that out if that stuff interests you. But there's two things I want you to pay attention to here. One is the dev container folder, and number two is the requirements.txt. So let's open up this dev container folder. It's a JSON file. So let's zoom in a little bit. You can see here, this is basically describing the instance of the development environment that I want. So there's a whole store of images you can shop from. What I'm looking for is something that has Python on it. So there's a dev container that's got Python 3.8 on it, which is fine for me. You can specify the CPUs. 4 should be enough, depending on what you're doing. And there is, I don't know if I mentioned this, there is a free tier of this Codespaces that GitHub offers, and the free tier is pretty generous. You'd have to like really try, develop all day, every day to exceed that free tier, and it resets every month anyway. So if you think you need like 8 CPUs, that'll use up your usage more, but you really have to try to exceed that. So there's I don't have much specified here. You can get really crazy with the kind of development environment container that you want. So I'm just specifying I want Jupyter Notebook on there and Python, those two extensions. But you can see here, I've got this Python pip install requirements.txt. So let's go back to that text file. You can see I've specified a bunch of different Python libraries. So when I launch this container, this dev container, it'll spin up a development environment for me. And as it's doing that, it'll install all those Python packages on the machine. So let's do it here. If you just go to any repository, you could do this on something that doesn't have a dev container folder, but it'll just be a blank dev container. So I like to specify so that I can just get in and start developing right away. So we'll hit create code space on main, and it's going to spin up the code space that I specified in the dev container JSON folder file. And then once that's done, it's going to look for that requirements.txt and pip install all those libraries that we specified. So we can watch this thing build itself. And as it spins up, you see it looks identical to the VS Code that I have here, because this is all Microsoft. So that, I guess that's the benefit of one company owning all this stuff. But you can see it looks just like my VS Code, same theme and everything. It's working on setting itself up here. It's going to be installing all those Python packages. We'll see in a second. Yep, see, it's installing all those. So it's going to load all of the extensions that I have on my local VS Code. So once this is ready, we will be able to start developing right away in the browser. Pretty amazing. I guess the benefit of this, there's a couple that you could use this for. One would be if you're developing on multiple different computers, and maybe you want to have the same environment in each one. You could just write that dev container folder, write the requirements.txt for all the Python libraries you want, and then the same development environment wherever you go. Another thing you could use, if you've got an iPad, you could spin up a development environment on your iPad and develop from that. It's notoriously difficult to develop on an iPad. Maybe it'll get easier, but if that was something you're interested in, that's something you could do. So we can see my icon library installed here. Let me zoom in again. You can see each of these folders has a different like symbol on it based on, I think I have the material icon back, but anyway, it's installing and setting up everything that I have on my local VS Code right in the browser. So we can open up this Python notebook. I know this is right from the repository. So if I were to make some changes to this, you'll see it appear in the source control tab. We can push right to the repository. So that's basically it. I think this is a tool that is useful and everybody should know if you use GitHub or VS Code a lot. I'm trying to do my videos like quantity over quality because I tend to spend way too much time thinking about what to make a video of. So this is something I use often, so I figured it would be helpful for people. And I would make sure that you won't get charged. Like Microsoft will just shut down your machine if you exceed the free tier, but you're going to want to delete and or stop your machine after you're done using it. So stopping would it would basically shut down the computer, but not delete it. And then you could start it up again and all of your stuff would still be installed. It would just be like a little faster setup time. But I'm just going to delete it. So hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. And if you have any questions on how to use GitHub Codespaces, just let me know.